So he's like Haran in that he is doing it for an earthly reason, not for a higher reason. So again, we're giving Terach credit. He reacted to a situation that would be dangerous. But he reacted for lower reasons. Nonetheless, he acted. So he gets some credit.
Well, he acted for some reason.
Vayetzu itam, and they went out with them, means that others, itam, he went out with them, not with everybody else. He didn't take everybody, because some people either chose to or refused to go with him. And that's the answer that we give about Nachor. Nachor stayed behind because he didn't want to go out with Terach. He didn't want to be associated with that group. Again, we're seeing sort of the Haran mentality. You tie yourself to a person and you decide who you want to tie yourself to. And Haran felt that if he stayed behind, he wouldn't be tied to Terach at all. So he could stay there and still have that life without having association, because they offered him to leave and he stayed. So now he's got a perfect excuse. When the police come knocking on his door, he says, "Listen, I could have gone with them. I'm not one of them. I'm here with you." We have a note. Otherwise, itam would be obsolete. But
the word we're saying it's redundant or of no use.
Right. So the word itam is a superfluous word.
Superfluous. That's the word. Yes.
So whenever we have a superfluous word in Torah, we have to attribute meaning to why it is there, and that is specifically to exclude Nachor, and specifically to include other people who supported the revolutionary ideology and views that idol worship was not the way that the world should continue.
We just realized something. There's two Nachors. Nachor is Terach's father also. So Nachor the son was named after his grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
So I forgot.
So which is the Nachor stayed behind? Terach's son.
And his father. But if he's still alive even. Nachor didn't leave at all.
Nachor the father is, according to the Midrash, still alive. Yes.
So he didn't leave either.
He didn't
leave. Two Nachor stayed behind.
Mm-hmm.
Achor. Nachor stayed Achor. That's a way to remember it.
Me'ur, from torches with a munach. So this is going to be separated from what's come from before and move us forward into what's going to move afterwards. The departure of the assembly was with the purpose to keep them away from Ur, from torches, from the fire of the oven, where freedom of opinion found its end in flames, as emphasized by the shape of the reading mark. So again, if they stayed there, then that would be the only consequence, and they're going to be separated from the consequence of being thrown into the fire, kastim, with the rivi'i. Subsequently, they moved out from the hegemony of brutality and barbarism of kastim to find a better and safer place to live, as demonstrated by the shape of the wide meaning of the reading mark. And again, here... Sorry?
You see it in
Hasidim. Hasidim, but who the hell are they?
And again, here we're saying he's looking for a place where there are broader minds, if you will. And that's the meaning that we attribute to the Revi, that it has the ability to spread out and to have more depth to it. Lalachet with the pashta. So this is going to emphasize the word and move us forward to what's going to come after it. The purpose for going away from their homeland was not intended so much to find good living conditions as for the purpose of escaping from danger, as manifested by the double directional shape of the reading mark. So this is two pashtaot. You'll notice there's one on the second lamed and there's one on the tav. Pashta always comes on the last syllable of the word, and if that is not the accented syllable, then you get a second pashta somewhere else. Their going was not for the sake of what they were going to get when they got there. Rather, it was to lalechet, to go, to be out of the place where they were. And there is double emphasis that they really did not want to be there, both for political reasons and for safety and for economic reasons, and every reason they could think of was a reason to go.
And I was like, am I imagining it? Wait a minute. This page really should be here. Shouldn't it be twisted? Because this page, 157, is a continuation.
No, not having a problem.
No?
No, we're good.
We're good.
Arza. Their journey was, this is with a munach. Their journey was directed towards a land which was strange for them, but sufficiently remote to find peace and safety, as disclosed by the shape of the reading mark. So this is going to be a different place that has separate values and separate tolerance from what they were in at present. Kina'an, of Kina'an, with a katon. They marched northwards through Erech, Uruk, crossing the Euphrates to Babylon, to Nineveh, Al Maswil, leading westwards to the country of Canaan, which was supposed to be their final destination, as symbolized by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So Canaan is their destination. They're going through all of the points in between. So they're headed up towards that destination and going through other places. Hence we have the two-part note. And we're on page 156.
No direct flights at that point.
Vayavo, and they arrived with a mercha. So this is lightly connected. Sorry, Alan, you had a question?
Well, can we
Hold up the order.
Because I'm telling you, because there's only 18 things, ordinarily this page is a continuation. That's how
so what we do is we have the entire pasuk written out. So that's the thing that comes in the first column until it gets to number 24. And then we have all of the commentaries going directly after we finish the sentence. So that is why we're now on page 156 at number 21. And then the commentary on that is on page 157 after we've gone through 1 to 20 in the previous page. And they arrived, Mercha, after a prolonged, tiring tour. Their plan was achieved, and they arrived at a place which satisfied them as a temporary stopover, as pronounced by the directional shape of the reading mark. So this is lightly connected, i.e., the plan was to reach a place of safety. Even though the original destination was Canaan, they arrived at some place that met their criteria, which was people thought a different way, and they weren't going to be arrested or detained. Vayavo, vayitzu, and they departed, and they arrived, is a Phrasiatic variant of Sur meira ve'aseh tov, avert from bad and do good. So again, what he's trying to say is that there is a value to have leaving, and there is a value to the place where they got to. That not only did they make a political statement by leaving, but they made a political statement by staying. Ad Haran, till Haran, with the closing tipcha. This is going to focus us backwards and close the phrase of Vayavo. When they came till Haran, they thought they had found freedom after hardships. Liot b'nei chorin ad Haran, they were going to be, b'nei chorin, they were going to be free people. As revealed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark.
B'nei chorin or b'nei choran?
Well, that's what he's saying. Haran, where does the name come from? It comes from that they thought that there was an element of freedom there, and that's why the place gets that name biblically. So they were coming to the place of freedom,
and on the run.
And they were no longer on Haran, on the run. But in any case, it's a bad pun.
If this is Haran, it sounds like Haran also. Like, why was his name Haran? I don't know. Maybe he thought he was going to be freed by following Abram's thing, and it ends up being his death.
I don't know that we can make that association between a hay and a chet. But again, we get the pause after Haran. So they're getting there, and they decided, oh, this is the end. we've reached a place that meets our goals, even though it wasn't the original place that they were headed towards. Vayeshvu, and they settled, lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving afterwards. So they had an original goal. They decided that the intention was to reach a place that met their philosophy, but not the place in and of itself. So they settled. They were exhausted after the journey and from past experiences, and they settled temporarily in the new place and remained longer than planned, as suggested by the directional shape of the reading mark. So even though Vayeshvu implies that they rested there, they just they sat there to catch their breath type of thing. They continued to sit and catch their breath. They did not move along from there. Sham, there, with a stabilizing sof pasuk. Shortly, problems arose there too, which interfered with the original plan of reaching the desired destination. So the place in and of itself became an issue in and of itself, and its own nature started to assert itself as well. So the place itself, the stability of the place, the ideal of the place, became something that started to assert itself after a while. And we see that Avram has to leave.
So we said Haran got a thing from, they thought they'd free there.
From Chorim.
So what was it called before they got to Haran?
We don't know, and we've always contended that biblical names express the character of a place or a person in the circumstance that the Torah wants to point out, and wasn't necessarily the name of the place, which is why we often have a place that the children of Israel call something, and it was called something else before, and it's known as or whatever, because the vernacular name and the biblical expression of what the place actually is in and of its essence are two different things.
It's like Beersheba. Beersheba probably wasn't called Beersheba until whatever.
And we have a further comment. The migration of Terach and Avram may be viewed as a particular instance of the general trend of the migration of peoples. And I'll leave anybody who wants to pronounce the German to go ahead and do that, which had many phases. Ur was the original kingdom, Urbs Regio, the city of the king, until 2000 BC. Later, it was overrun from the south by the Eridu and from the north by Uruk, Tel El-Obeid and Lagash. In succession, lords of Mareh on the Euphrates took control of Mesopotamia. So again, we had said in the introduction that we were going to include archaeological references and historical references, and that's what we're trying to do here. Meanwhile, the country fell under the domination of the Kastim, who came from the Kurdistan Mountains and were known as brutal barbarian warriors. Not before the end of the 18th century BC were they pushed out by Hammurabi, who expanded his country, setting his capital in Babylon. Vayikach, and he took a decision after consultation and persuasion. So Vayikach Terach, the beginning of the sentence, that Terach took everyone. So we have historical reasons now why this is a place that he felt that he had to leave and go elsewhere. So as we read through the sentence, we're going to see that we give a flourish to Vayikach Terach, and Vayetzu Itam, those people who went out, also get merit in that they had rejected the status quo in the city of Nimrod. Avram Beno, the son, Avram's status as his son and influencing him. So Avram, the fact that he's his son, that's going to spread out and broaden and influence everyone around him. Sarai Kalato is going to stand out as a phrase by herself. Lot ben Haran ben Beno is going to stand out because he's got his reasons, she's got her reasons. Eshet, the wife of, is going to stand there. That, by the way, Sarai is connected to, and yet she's separate from Avram Beno. Avram is going to stand by himself again. and
This is the longest pasuk we've ever had.
it's one of the longer ones that we've had. Yeah,
Yes.
As we're trying to finish the scene, it's
That's
like,
okay.
that's a sense of humor.
it is what it is.
Nice skill, music.
Vayikach Terach et Avram beno, v'et Lot ben Haran ben beno, v'et Sarai kalato, Eshet Avram beno, vayetzu itam meur kastim, lalechet arza Canaan, vayavo ad Haran, vayeshvu sham.
Can I ask a question? I find it interesting that, Terach, okay, we want to say he wasn't a good guy also, but for sure he wasn't no Abraham, right?
Right.
And yet, it's interesting that Abraham didn't take the initiative. I mean, we're talking about a grown man now, Abraham, that Abraham should take the initiative to leave that place. Because it wasn't...
So,
Respectful for his father.
He wasn't, that's my point.
I understand the question, and we're going to counterpoint Terach's leaving from Ur Kasdim to Avram's leaving from Haran.
Yeah, but that's when Hashem told him, but I'm saying on their own...
So what's going to happen? Terach is going to leave for fear of an earthly king, and Avram is going to leave to follow God's word. And we're we don't want to taint Avram's motive by saying that Avram ran away from Nimrod. We don't want to say that the only reason...
That would paint it for me. That would show that he just should know he doesn't belong there.
So we want to say that Avram
the
left...
higher level in a way, he's doing without Hashem telling him.
Avram left for...
Avram doesn't have a choice. Once God told him he has to leave, but Terach is doing it without even God's
Avram leaves from Haran. Avram leaves from a place of relative safety.
Not according to what you just said. That wasn't that last
We're
point
going
that Haran is becoming...
We're going to see that Haran is not going to be all that it's cracked up to be.
Right.
However, Avram's leaving is going to be directly because of the word of God. So we're going to attribute the highest of the highest motives to what Avram does. And it is going to be separate from what Terach does, looking at the situation, say, if I stay here, I'm going to die. Well, if we felt that that's the reason that Avram went to Eretz Canaan, then okay, it's a place where you're not going to die. That's not doing it for God's sake. It's doing it for your sake. So we are giving Avram the chance to differentiate his actions from what Terach is doing, and that counterpoints the one person's leaving from the other person's leaving.
The question is, why didn't Hashem say Lech Lecha already when they were in Ur Kasdim? If it's so bad.
So why didn't he say that? Because then again, we would attribute to Avram the only reason that he left was because Nimrod was going to kill him.
No,
why is Sukkot in fall? Because if it was the time of Pesach,
then it's a no-brainer that
it's the classic argument of Goethe when you ask about, for example, what's the motivation of it? What's a greater mitzvah? A person who gets tzedakah, right? A person who gets tzedakah because his heart is full, he wants to get tzedakah, or he hates that he gets tzedakah, but God said do it. Answer B.
Which
because the first
when you're mitzvah,
when you do it, you hate it.
Not to do it for mitzvah.
So because if you're doing it because it makes you feel good, you're doing it for yourself. If you hate to do it, but you're doing it because God said...
That's the chazir thing, that you shouldn't not eat chazir because you don't like the taste. That's because you do like it, but you're doing it because God said.
Yes.
Right.
So again, that's what we're trying to counterpoint here. You have an example of Terach who's doing it for the lesser moral reason, and Avram who's doing it for the greater moral reason.
Yeah, but my second question is about Hashem. Why didn't Hashem
tell Avram to leave for the same reason? He gives Avram the opportunity to have the greater merit, to leave from Haran, not to leave from Ur Kasdim.
The first time God wants to bring water to the people, he tells Moses strike with a stick. Second time he says talk. Why? It's a build-up, right? The first one, go, fine, because you can draw a contrast between them that way, right? Potential suggestion. Shall we continue?
Last minute of playing this period.
Yeah, good, great, yay.
Or you want to start next week?
I think we should have 3 seers. Because 3 is a real...
And they were. Vayiyu with a no.
Thank God it's not that long.
Vayiyu.
The last pasuk would have been too long. No.
And they were with a munach. So this is going to be slightly separated from what's come before, but mostly moving us forward into strongly separated from what's come before, and mostly moving us into what's going to come afterwards. Terach had a hard life during most of his years, and they were affected by tragedy, fears, and worries, as indicated by the shape of the reading mark. His days are separated out from the consequence of his action, which is what's going to move forward. Yemei Terach, days of Terach with a katon. His youth was like his old age. The days of Terach were divided into two parts to comply with the surroundings outside in order to condition his existence and to satisfy his personal ideals at home. By the inside, comparable to Shnei Chaye Sarah, 2 lives of Sarah, and to Avram, as pointed out by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So Terach has the ideals of trying to fit into his surroundings, whether they are good or bad. He tries to fit in, but ultimately he is forced by circumstance to move somewhere else. But that wouldn't have been his natural inclination or his natural idea. Based on what he does, he tries to fit in. Chamesh with a mercha, lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving forwards. 5. The rest of his life was like the initial 5 years of his childhood, which did not leave any significant memories of joy, as shown by the directional shape of the reading mark. So, I
just noticed something. I forgot about that. When they were leaving Ur Kasdim, they weren't supposed to go to Haran. They were going to go all the way to Eretz Canaan.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't they in the end? Because he was satisfied.
Because their motivation was not to reach a higher place. Their motivation was to run away from death.
That's Terach, but why?
Terach.
So why didn't Avram go further? Before God told him.
Why didn't Avram go before God told him? Because if he would have gone before God told him, then he was still going because he was running away from Nimrod. He was given the opportunity to stay until he was commanded to leave.
Wait a minute. Why did Terach? It says they were. Who was going to go to Eretz Canaan? All of them.
Everybody.
Yeah. Right, but they all decided to stop along the way. I think it's fair to suggest that also, culturally at that time, the father was the absolute ruler of the house. He said this is the way it's going to be, and that was the law, period. Dad said we're stopping. The fact that he picked up and went, the only way he could overcome his father's commands, because God himself said go. Otherwise, he would be bound, as it were, culturally to what his father has said.
So wait again. Why did he go to stay in Korea? Because he thought he was out of danger already. So he took the
They found something that was suitable.
Good enough. They've been going a long way already. It's suitable enough. It's far enough. It works.
Satisfied them. Temporary stopover.
It highlights his motive. His motive was to get out of harm's way, not to seek a higher place.
Not the Canaan, but the higher place. Believe me, there is Canaan and place.
It was, for what it's worth, it was a mass migration in a northwestern direction, Ur Kasdim to Haran, because of changes in the agriculture. As the rivers there started to silt up, it turned out that they were unable to grow the crops in Ur Kasdim that had been really the center of the civilization. So people were starting to get hungry. There really was not just the individual story, but in the background a mass.
Where are you getting this from?
I was in a lecture where I heard this.
Also, Haran was moving there. So more people should have left from.
They probably did. They did.
Haran was a destination. So people
So that's what they had.
from more accustomed to the Haran area in order to find a place to survive and live.
So if Terach, to continue that, if Terach was really trying to get out of danger, if the same people are leaving Ur Kasdim, then he's not really getting away from them. Then there's more reason he should have gone to Canaan.
The ones who left was the ones. Canaan was actually considered relatively poor compared to Haran. So people weren't going from Haran to Canaan for any economic or political reason.
Right. So, but the original question was if Terach was trying to get away out of harm's way
The people
from
in charge stayed. It was the people who probably were more had more tenuous existences were the ones who were more likely to leave.
they were more desperate.
The danger that they highlighted was political, not financial.
And here's talking about political, your father, but it's on the background of actually a large migration to Haran.
I understand. I was saying, what was the motivator for Terach? The way we've been explaining, it's a political.
Right.
The powers that be are going to kill us for here's the 17 reasons why. So we're going to go to save our lives.
Right.
Oh, by the way, it happens to be that it's a happy coincidence that agriculturally speaking, financially speaking, things are pretty bad in Ur Kasdim. They're all heading out to Haran.
And that what he's saying is that the people who are really after Terach politically and philosophically, they're the ones who didn't go to Haran.
Yeah, they're staying put anyway.
Yeah, so
It's the king and the elite class. They're going to be the last ones to leave.
Because they're financially, they don't need as much.
And so the point is he got out of their sphere of influence by the time they got to Haran.
And listen, Masavot Siman Labanim, right? Abraham was on his way to Israel. El Al told him it's a direct flight, and little did he know, right? They're stuck in Haran for 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
So again, we see that Terach, in trying to fit in, never really achieves anything that he had aspired to, and manages to not succeed at fitting in. So he was sort of shaped formatively by this sort of infantile desire to be with his peer group, and that's why the rest of his life was like his first 5 years, Shanim, number 4. The additional years of his life were similar by their essence, offering concerns and no definite satisfaction, as stressed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. The other years sort of flowed back into those first couple of years that he was seeking acceptance. I'm one of you, and he never really achieved that. Every step of the way, events seemed to conspire against him getting satisfaction from that. Umatayim and 200 with a munach. This is separated out. The entire life and 200 years at the end went by with painful experiences at home and outside, not changing the usual pattern as denoted by the shape of the reading mark. So the rest of his life again was filled with things that didn't satisfy what his original thoughts were. So the rest of his life, even though he was a different influence, were not satisfying for him. Shana, year, with the stabilizing etnachta. Each year he had more and different problems to preserve his life and that of his remaining children, as expressed by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So each year he comes across new outside threats and has to deal with them, and yet he manages to stay alive. So each year is a year that he has overcome some struggle or something that is an outside threat. Vayamot with a mercha. This is likely connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving forward into what's going to go afterwards. Getting older and weaker, he was unable to anticipate new initiatives, and he died in exile, in solitude, and in bitterness, as expressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. Moving forward, he is connected to this bitterness that he has had throughout his life, and he died, Terach, with the tipcha that closes the thought. At the end of his life, Terach was alone and secluded because even his children had left him, as specified by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. Terach remains alone at the end, not even having managed to fit into his own family, if you will.
Because the Nachors are back there, and because Avram's on his way there.
So everybody has left him.
Wait, so the Lech Lecha of Abraham is before Terach died? Even though we don't hear about it till later, because they do the whole. We know that for a fact. How do we know that for a fact? That the Lech Lecha of Abraham is before Terach died. Do we know that for a fact? Maybe it's a strong.
Well, it tells you since Abraham was 75 when he left Haran.